welcome to the deep dive. You sent us a really powerful set of sources this time.
Yeah.
It's a leader's guide, seems built specifically for those moments, when you're running on fumes.
Okay.
But you have absolutely no idea where to even start fixing the problem. So yeah, we're skipping the philosophy today.
Good.
Jumping right into the nuts and bolts.
That's right. And our mission here really is to pull out the functional step-by-step system that's actually inside these pages.
Like a roadmap.
Exactly. We're looking for a genuine roadmap that tells you, the leader, exactly where that lever for sustainable change is without, letting you get totally overwhelmed by just how burnt out you might be feeling.
Yeah, avoiding the overwhelm paralysis. So we're diving into the anatomy of, honest self-assessment. Specifically, this focused framework designed to help you recognize and sort of map your personal patterns before they lead you off a cliff.
It's quite focused, isn't it? A 12-minute reflective guide.
And it demands absolute honesty.
And that honesty, well, that's the gateway drug to the whole system, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before we even talk about the timing or the steps, we have to talk about the foundational piece.
Yeah.
Courage.
Okay.
You could have the best plan in the world, the best guide, whatever. But if you don't have the courage to actually face the mess, well, you just stay paralyzed.
I appreciate bringing up courage right away because usually people think courage is about tackling external stuff, right?
Yeah.
Big challenges out there.
Right, the obvious battles.
But here, the challenge is looking inward. Confronting those patterns, the repeated behaviors, big, small, that you might be, maybe unconsciously, using to sabotage your own sustainability.
Yeah, and we avoid naming them, don't we?
Because naming them means facing them.
Yeah.
You might have to change them.
Exactly. Which brings us right to that core principle driving this whole thing. It's highlighted by that critical quote from Dr. Brené Brown. You can't change what you don't acknowledge.
A classic.
But I want to push on that just a little.
Yeah, how so?
Well, a lot of people, they sort of treat acknowledgement as the finish line. Like, oh, okay, I acknowledge I'm overwhelmed. Phew, done.
Right, check the box.
Yeah, but this guide, it treats acknowledgement as the ammunition. If you, the listener, are wrestling with leadership sustainability, the starting point isn't just wishing it was different.
Yeah.
It's acknowledging that certain elements right now are factually unmanageable.
Yeah.
And that clear-eyed assessment, that's the only thing that actually justifies a fundamental redesign of how you're doing things.
That's a key reframe. It shifts acknowledgement from passive acceptance to active preparation. Okay, now I see the enemy, time to plan the attack on the current state.
Exactly. Okay, so let's unpack the actual structured process here. The source material is, I think, quite brilliant because it takes this often fuzzy idea of self-reflection.
Yeah, which can mean anything.
Right, and it chops it into 5 highly focused, timed areas.
That must be the difference between just, writing randomly in a journal and actually doing a targeted psychological audit on yourself.
It forces the leader to move from that abstract feeling, that emotional distress about the workload.
I'm so stressed.
To identifying concrete, specific, addressable patterns that just keep happening.
Okay, so walk us through the 12 minutes, 5 essential areas you said.
Yep. We start with a quick pattern introduction. Then we get into the heavier lifting, identifying overwhelm triggers.
Okay.
Then assessing workload evolution, how things got this way.
Right, the history.
Then shifting into action, task redistribution opportunities. And finally, maybe surprisingly, a necessary wrap-up with self-compassion.
A very deliberate sequence, it sounds like.
Extremely.
Okay, let's start with step 1, introduction to pattern recognition. The guide gives it 2 minutes. In a leadership context, what's the real difference between just abstract anxiety and actual pattern recognition?
It's huge. It's this difference between saying, I constantly feel stressed about my inbox, right? That's anxiety.
General feeling.
Versus saying, okay, wait, every time I see an email from that department, or maybe every single day around 4:30 p.m., I physically tense up. And then I spend 45 minutes just doing low-value sorting. See the difference?
Okay. Specificity.
Exactly. That 2-minute intro is your time to move past the general feeling and actually pinpoint maybe 3 or 4 concrete examples of predictable, repeated reactions or behaviors that signal distress for you.
So you're isolating the repeatable sequence. Okay. And that leads us perfectly into step 2, guided reflection on overwhelm triggers. The source dedicates 3 minutes here. That's one of the longest steps. Why so much emphasis on triggers?
Because triggers are, they're the flashpoints. They're where your unsustainable behavior is most visible and most raw.
Okay.
And what's interesting is the guide isn't just asking you to list stuff that annoys you.
Right, not just a complaint list.
No, it emphasizes specific interactive moments. It literally says things like, pause here and think about the last 3 times you felt that paralyzing rush of overwhelm. It forces recall.
So we're trying to get past the general pressure cooker feeling to the specific things that turn up the heat.
Precisely. And for a leader, triggers often seem to fall into maybe 3 main buckets. There's the internal trigger, like perfectionism demanding a task take 3 hours when 30 minutes is fine.
Guilty.
Yeah. Then there's the environmental trigger, maybe a specific time of day when all the drive-by requests land.
Oh, 4 p.m. Friday.
Exactly. Or the relationship trigger, maybe a specific colleague's communication style just instantly puts you on the defensive. The point is, you can't delegate perfectionism itself.
No.
But you can definitely delegate the task that your perfectionism is currently latched onto. Identifying the trigger helps you see the target for change.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've identified what trips the wire now. But as step 2 is about the immediate reaction, step 3, which also gets 3 minutes, feels like the deeper dive. It's assessing workload evolution. This shifts the reflection from just a snapshot of today to more of a longitudinal view, looking back.
Exactly. This is where we stop treating the current monster workload as just an immutable fact of life.
It is what it is.
Right. Stop that and start treating it like a measurable consequence of past actions and events. This step answers the crucial question. How the heck did this workload get so big that it broke me? You're literally charting the growth over time.
And what are we looking for when we chart that history? What's the point?
Well, we're looking for the points of destabilization. And a guide seems to imply there are usually 2 main narratives for how things go off the rails.
Okay.
The first is the shock event. A sudden merger, a massive reorg, a key person quits unexpectedly. That leads to an immediate collapse of sustainability. That one's usually pretty easy to spot.
Obvious cause and effect. And the second narrative.
The second one. That's the far more insidious pattern. The slow creep.
The frog in boiling water.
Precisely. This happens often through what you can call the sunk cost fallacy of responsibility.
Yeah.
Like you accepted some random task 3 years ago because it just needed doing then.
Quick fix.
And now, even though your role has totally changed, you're somehow still the default owner. Or maybe you just said yes to lots of small, non-core tasks over and over.
Death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Until, whoops, they collectively eat up 40% of your week.
Oh, that is incredibly relatable. So the pattern isn't just that you're busy now. The pattern is how you let mission drift or just the sheer weight of inertia expand your role way beyond capacity.
Yes. And if you skip this history lesson, step 3.
You just optimize the chaos.
Exactly. You'll just try to more efficiently manage your current unsustainable state instead of changing the fundamental structure. You're identifying the historical entry points of tasks that actually no longer belong in your plate.
And understanding the evolution, where tasks came from, how they piled up, that leads directly into step 4, right? Finding redistribution opportunities. We shift here from deep assessment to tangible action. This gets 2 minutes.
This is the payoff.
Yeah.
Seriously. If you did the work in step 2, identifying those high-stress triggers, and you did step 3, mapping the historical growth and the slow creep,
right,
you now have a target list, a real list. You're looking for tasks that have a really high stress-to-value ratio, or tasks that historically just crept into your role but are now clearly owned somewhere else in the organization, or should be.
So we're looking for things we can actually move, delegate, or ideally just eliminate entirely.
Right.
And the key is that these redistribution opportunities aren't generic delegate more advice. They're based on the very specific historical patterns you just uncovered about your workload.
It connects the data points. It's logical. If you realize that task Z always makes your key team member X anxious, that's your step 2 trigger insight.
Okay.
And you also realize task Z only landed on your plate 6 months ago because of some temporary gap. That's your step 3 evolution insight.
Got it.
Then task Z becomes the perfect candidate for elimination or strategic movement in step 4, redistribution.
Yeah.
It grounds your action plan in actual evidence, not just wishful thinking or feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, and that structured approach must make the delegation conversation or the elimination conversation much easier because it's backed by beta, your own analysis, not just, I feel stressed.
Precisely.
Okay, now we arrive at the final component of this 12-minute framework. Self-compassion during recognition also gets 2 minutes.
I know, right? 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It sounds almost comically short for something as big as self-compassion.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I'd guess the listener might be wondering, why give such a deep emotional concept so little time compared to the 3-minute analysis steps?
That was my exact thought. Isn't the emotional hurdle like the biggest part of making change? If you've just spent 10 minutes staring hard at all your professional missteps or failures.
You might just want to curl up in a ball.
Or just throw the whole guide away,
Well-
right? Feel defeated.
Okay, so this is where we connect it back to the bigger picture, and crucially, the time frame of this specific exercise. This 12-minute guide isn't meant to be deep therapy.
Right. It's a diagnostic tool.
It's a functional wrap-up designed for immediate recovery from the exercise itself. The steps before this required you to be brutally honest, to confront flaws, mistakes, patterns you might have been internalizing as personal shortcomings, like, I'm just not good enough.
So by this point, your immediate internal critic is probably having an absolute field day.
Oh yeah, it's loud. So self-compassion in this specific 2-minute window acts as the mechanism. It prevents that inner critic from completely overwhelming the process and causing you to just shut down.
It's like a buffer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It allows you to process the difficult realizations. Okay, I see how I let this happen, or wow, I really repeated that mistake, without letting that judgment become paralyzing. It's about ensuring the growth process actually continues tomorrow, rather than stalling out right now because of defensiveness or shame. Think of it as the necessary emotional lubricant to maintain momentum.
Okay, I understand now. It's not about achieving deep long-term healing in 2 minutes. It's about providing just enough psychological safety right then and there to ensure you actually pick up the next task on your action plan tomorrow instead of giving up.
Precisely. It's the final step needed to solidify that courage we talked about way back at the beginning, to make the honesty stick.
So wrapping this all up, what does this really mean for the leader who feels like they're perpetually on the brink? The central theme, which this guide executes beautifully, I think, is about stopping the cycle. Stopping the pretending that everything is fine when it clearly isn't.
Ditching the denial.
Yeah. And instead of just living in that denial, you use this structured analysis, these steps, to create meaningful, sustainable changes that are specifically tailored to your unique patterns, your history.
And the beauty of the guide, I think, is that it gives you the actual evidence you need to tell a new story.
Yeah.
A different story about your capabilities and your role.
Yeah.
You move from that abstract, ugh, I just need to work less feeling.
Inactionable.
Right. To the very concrete, okay, I need to delegate task Z because my step 3 analysis shows it was an unnecessary historical addition that now acts as a high-stress trigger identified in step 2.
Yeah.
See? Actionable.
This really has been a deep dive into the practical application of self-awareness and leadership. Okay, so the distilled takeaway here seems to be true sustainable leadership doesn't start with a new app or a time management hack.
No.
It begins with the courage for honest self-assessment. That's foundational, followed by a really detailed analysis that maps your specific triggers and, crucially, treats your workload's evolution to find those historical weak points where things went wrong.
And that analysis, that's the power shift. It leads to the final thought I wanted to leave people with.
Okay.
If acknowledging what you can't change is the starting point, like Brené Brown says, then how does identifying those specific workload evolution patterns, those historical slow creeps and shock events you uncover in step 3, how does that actually free you?
Free you from what?
Free you from just accepting those accumulated responsibilities as permanent fixtures of your job. Think about the narrative you've been telling yourself about your role, maybe for years, and how knowing the history of how each task landed on your plate now empowers you to move directly, decisively, into step 4, the active redistribution. The past isn't prescriptive here, it's diagnostic. It tells you exactly where to operate.
The past isn't prescriptive, it's diagnostic. That's a powerful framework to internalize. Thank you for walking us through this really critical guidance system.
My pleasure, it's important stuff.
Absolutely. We'll catch you next time for the next deep dive.